shocking new details have just emerged about Peter Mandelson and Jeffrey Epstein. And there is absolutely no way that one of the most morally bankrupt men in the world should be continuing as our ambassador in the United States. But to me, actually, this is the story that should bring down Keir Starmer, and I truly do mean that, Slippery Starmer, because he hired this man to be our representative in the US, knowing full well about the links to Epstein, a convicted paedophile. And just to stress, his links to Epstein, because I know what the left are going to say, what about Donald Trump? No. This is a totally different situation. Mandelson's links to Epstein continued long after he was a convicted paedophile. The man is a snake. He brings shame to Britain. And actually, he brings shame to me as a gay man by trying to use that as his defense today. But first, I've got to get to this breaking news because The Sun has just revealed leaked emails between Jeffrey Epstein and Peter Mandelson that show Mandelson was actually coaching Epstein even after he had been accused of soliciting a minor. Here's some of what Lord Mandelson wrote. Your friends stay with you and love you. He argued that he should be fighting for an early release after he was sentenced to 18 months in jail after a plea deal. And he said, this is after the conviction, by the way, I think the world of you, and I feel hopeless and furious about what has happened. I can still barely understand it. It just could not happen in Britain. You have to be incredibly resilient, fight for early release, and be philosophical about it as much as you can. What, Mandelson? Be philosophical about being a pedo? You're a sicko, mate. And you should be finished. Sorry, this is just disgraceful. This was in their private email addresses, by the way. And you're going to be even more angry when you hear what he said next. Mandelson wrote to Epstein, everything can be turned into an opportunity. And you will come through it and be stronger for it. The whole thing has been years of torture, and now you have to show the world how big a person you are and how strong. In a separate email, he offered strategic advice to one of the world's most prolific paedophiles, writing, reminder, you are fighting back, so you need strategy. Remember the art of war. So let's just think about this at the moment. Mandelson, who has not denied the veracity of these emails, believes that Jeffrey Epstein being a convicted paedophile was an opportunity for a career comeback. And people say that Candace Owens is off her rocker when she talks about a network of paedophiles running the world. I'm sorry, there's evidence of it. Starmer knew. He knew all of this, and he still gave him the job. We have sickos in charge of our country. Now, Mandelson is fighting back in a softball interview in the Murdoch media, where he admits he is embarrassed with his 10-page love letter to Epstein. Watch. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
You've been in the news of late. This 10-page birthday letter you wrote Jeffrey Epstein, admittedly 5 years before his first conviction. It makes
over 20 years ago.
5 years before he was convicted. It makes a pretty cringeworthy reading. I have two questions on that, really. How does it feel to see those words blasted across the world? And how do you think it feels to those people who are fighting Epstein for justice?
I find them very embarrassing to see and to read. But as you say, they were written before he was indicted. But I just feel two things now. One, I feel a tremendous sense, profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done.
How long was it?
Oh, it was a matter of years after I initially met him.
No, it was years after he was a convicted paedophile, you sicko. And those softball questions from Harry Cole, I mean, it makes me feel like a deal's been done there too. Anyway, then he denied business links. Watch.
And I regret very much that I fell for his lies. I fell and accepted assurances that he had given me about his indictment, his original criminal case in Florida. Like very many people, I took at face value what he said. With hindsight, with fresh information, many years later, we realized that we had been wrong to believe him. He's a charismatic criminal liar, we now see. And I regret very much indeed, I felt it like an albatross around my neck since his death in 2018 or 19 when it was. I feel a tremendous sense of regret, not only that I met him in the first place, but that I continued the association, and I took at face value the lies that he fed me and many others.
So after he was first convicted, first indicted, you continued a business and personal friendship relationship?
It was not a business relationship.
Not a business relationship. You didn't do any business together, even informally, introducing to people, doing people, scratching backs, as you put it earlier. Nothing.
He never. He operated in a financial and business way, way above my level. Yes, he was always saying, "Would you like to see so and so? I've got this friend. I'm having this dinner. Would you like to come?" Or he was a prolific social networker and a political networker.
Yes, so you had a business relationship. But then it gets worse, and this infuriates me. Mandelson then uses the fact he's a gay man as an excuse for ignoring the very obvious paedophilia that was going on.
I just would say this to you, Harry. During all the time I was an associate of his, I never saw the wrongdoing. I never saw any evidence of criminal activity. I never sought, and nor did he offer any introductions to women in the way that allegedly he did for others. Perhaps it's because I'm a gay man. No, perhaps when I knew him...
In all those years you said nothing untoward.
Perhaps
when no whispers on the wind.
Perhaps when I was associating with him those years ago, as I did with my then partner and now husband, Ronaldo, we never, ever saw any evidence or sign of this activity which has since come to light. That's why I feel so profoundly upset by what is now has been now revealed about what he did to women, and why I feel profoundly upset that I was taken in by him and continued my association with him for far longer than I should have.
But does that naivety on your part not make your current job as a very senior diplomat quite difficult if you're willing to accept that you were essentially conned?
I lived in London. I'm a Brit. He lived in New York. He was an American. Perhaps if I had been in closer proximity...
Well, you stayed with him on a number of occasions, as you admit.
I did in the early years. That's certainly true. And now I regret it. Now I regret it. I regret being taken in by him, as very many other people do. But it was 10 years later, when he was federally prosecuted, that people suddenly learned of what he had been up to for all those years.
I'm sorry, I just repeat, you are a disgusting man, and I think you are such a disgusting man for using the fact that you are gay, that you are a gay man, to try and justify the fact that you didn't see the paedophilia going on around you. You knew he was a paedophile, so the fact that you're gay makes absolutely no difference, and it is a sick defence. And of course, what we're going to see now is whether the mainstream regime media are prepared to turn on one of their own, as Helen Spirit posted. Emily Mateless. Really looking forward to your forthcoming career-ending interview with Peter Mandelson regarding his exceptionally close relationship with Epstein. When can we expect it? Oh, wait. But at least Kemi Badenoch, who I've written off long ago, as you know, but she did come alive at PMQs today, and she had Slippery Starmer on the ropes over this. Check it out. He stood by Mandelson time and again. So in my view, he has to go next. Watch. But first, we've always associated chocolate with weight gain. But did you know it's actually been shown to help with fat loss? Studies show that cocoa flavonols, the active compounds in high-quality cocoa, can support fat metabolism, improve insulin sensitivity, and even help reduce abdominal fat. But you'd have to eat so much chocolate to get those benefits that the sugar and calories would cancel them out, or worse, lead to weight gain, not to mention the heavy metals like lead and cadmium found in many cocoa products. This is why I drink Morning Bean by Verso. It's a rich chocolate blend with all the proven benefits of cocoa without the junk. Every batch is third-party tested for heavy metals, so you're getting pure high flavonol cocoa you can actually feel good about. Instead of caffeine, it uses theobromine, a natural compound in cocoa that delivers all-day energy without overstimulating your nervous system. Plus, its ingredients are shown to support muscle growth and performance, improve metabolism, and provide micronutrients from superfoods and electrolytes to rehydrate and fuel your body. So yes, chocolate can help you lose fat, just not in the candy bar form. Since tanking Morning Bean, I've turned my morning ritual into something that supports my energy, my metabolism, and my goals. So start your day with Morning Bean for research-backed detox, energy, and health. Click the link below or visit morning.ver.so/outspoken and use the code outspoken for 15% off. That's morning.ver.so/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show.
The Prime Minister cannot answer any questions. That is not the behaviour of someone who has full confidence. The ambassador should be in the White House talking about how we respond to an incursion into NATO airspace. Instead, he is giving interviews about himself to The Sun. This is a man who already had to be removed from cabinet twice, and now we learned that he was brokering billion-pound deals with Jeffrey Epstein while business secretary. I didn't get a proper answer. He's talking about process. This is not about process. This is about judgment. Just last week, I told him that he should sack his deputy prime minister. They all cheered and congratulated themselves. She was gone 2 days later. His face too is broken, and he's got a totally new front bench. So I will ask him again, will he make sure that these documents are published, and will he actually instruct Peter Mandelson to publish all his correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, she says the ambassador's be in the White House discussing NATO. He is, as we all are, with a number of international calls this morning and on Ukraine, as well as the attack in Doha yesterday. Mr. Speaker, I see she's finally catching up with the questions that she should have asked last week about the Deputy Prime Minister. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker...
Oh yeah, it's all just a laugh, isn't it? To my superstar panel, Charlie Downs of Restore Britain and Father Calvin Robinson. Father Calvin, Mandelson knew that Epstein was a convicted paedophile. He gave him career advice. He thought that it could be an opportunity for him to reinvent himself. Slippery Starmer then gave him the most senior job of representing our United Kingdom in Washington, D.C. And people say Candace Owens is a conspiracy theorist for believing a network of paedophiles runs the world.
If one of my friends was convicted of paedophilia, I wouldn't be giving them career advice. I wouldn't be saying fight back stronger. I'll be saying repent. You're going to go to hell. You have time to repent and apologize, show contrition, and seek absolution for your soul and you need to seek justice for the people you have hurt. I would not be encouraging him. I find it despicable that he is. But what was interesting about what Lord Mandelson said was this would not happen in Britain. And he is right, isn't it? A convicted paedophile would not be sent down in Britain, unfortunately, because we cover it up. Most of our establishment has been involved to some degree in the covering up of the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs, and it continues. And there's rumors of child exploitation and child sexual abuse within the establishment, and it's a grave sin and a grave shame, something that needs addressing. But whilst the people in power are benefiting from it, they're not going to address it. But what I can't put together is this whole Epstein thing a massive honeypot? Is it bigger than our governments? When we can see the evidence of Lord Mandelson maintaining that relationship on a very amicable level, is it because he knew that Epstein was an asset for shared governments, of which we can only speculate which ones? Is there something a part of a larger scheme here? Because when you look at the people like Speaker Mike Johnson, Vice President J.D. Vance, President Donald Trump, who are all saying, we'll release the files, the Epstein files, we'll release the files. And now they're in office and they're saying, well, it's a hoax. At the same time as AG Pam Bondi is saying, the files are on my desk, I'll release them soon. Oh no, there are no files. That something is going on around this Epstein case. It's bigger than just him being a nasty pedophile. It seems like he was part of some great honeypot scheme to entrap celebrities and politicians and people with high profiles in their debauched lifestyles. I'd like to know which governments are responsible. I'd like the files to be released, and I'd like to see full justice for all of the victims and survivors.
Absolutely. That is why we need those files released. I couldn't agree more with all of that. But Charlie Downs, there's a very basic point here, which is that we have a Prince of England, the late Queen Elizabeth II's favourite son, who lost everything because of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Everything. Now, a lot of people will think that's right. For me personally, I think Andrew has become the easy person to blame when it comes to Epstein, because who wants to look at Bill Clinton? Certainly not the Democrats in America. Who wants to look at Bill Gates? Certainly not the Democrats in America. So let's pin this all on a British prince. I've always felt like it was very, very easy to blame all of this on Prince Andrew. But compare Prince Andrew's links to Epstein with Peter Mandelson, and it doesn't even come close. Andrew was an absolute fool. Of course he was. But Mandelson was actually advising this guy. So how on earth do we live in a world where Prince Andrew is cancelled forever because of his links, yet Peter Mandelson is promoted to one of the most powerful jobs in Britain or in the British government as the US ambassador?
Oh gosh, Dan, there's so much I want to say about this story. To first address the Prince Andrew point, I think that's a really interesting take. I think when you get to this level of politics and business, the very, very highest, most elite levels of international kind of finance, which is obviously what Epstein was nominally involved in, and indeed government and so on. It's actually not unreasonable to think in a conspiratorial way. Because we're dealing here with people who are strategically minded, who do conspire and who do execute strategies in a very, very, incisive way. And I think it's entirely possible, perhaps, that some people got together and decided that Prince Andrew was going to be the scapegoat. He was going to be the face of the Epstein scandal in the absence of Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself, who are both, nowhere to be seen, which is quite strange. But on the Mandelson point, I mean, there's three things I want to say here. The first is that, Mandelson is a notoriously Machiavellian, intelligent political operator, probably one of the most effective politicians that this country has seen in the last 50 years. And we're expected to believe that he was just taken in, that he was just, bought into the probably fairly thinly veiled lies that a character like Epstein was maybe telling him, which is, hey, it's entirely possible that there weren't any lies, and that actually, the people who were in Epstein's immediate social circle were quite aware of what he was up to. I mean, Mandelson described Epstein as his best pal in a letter to him for his 50th birthday, right? And we're expected to believe that Mandelson just had no knowledge of this stuff that was going on. Now, I don't buy that for 1 second. The second point, Mandelson using the fact that he was gay, or is gay rather, to kind of get off the hook. Look, I don't know if there's any evidence for this, and I'm kind of just going off of gut instinct. But once again, are we expected to believe that Epstein didn't compromise homosexual individuals with the sort of blackmail pedophile ring that he was running? Like, are we expected to believe that he didn't procure underage boys as well as underage girls in order to compromise the people that he sought to control, or indeed that those his masters sought to control. I mean, I believe Epstein is definitely an intelligence asset, for which government I won't say. And then the third point, and I think this is really crucial, once again, not to sound conspiratorial, but I can't help but wonder, as you just said, Father Calvin, about the fact that the Trump administration has the Epstein materials. They have a huge, presumably database of materials that were seized from Epstein, including presumably footage of high-power politicians, businessmen, celebrities engaging in depraved illegal activities, on Epstein's island, on his jet, elsewhere, and so on. And I can't help but wonder whether the reason that they haven't kind of gone public with the Epstein stuff, and they have tried to bury it by saying that it's a hoax, is actually that the United States intelligence community has seen what they've got. They've seen what the materials that they've got, and they thought, actually, maybe we could get in on this, and maybe we could actually use these materials in the same way that Epstein used them, which is to blackmail people, which then leads you on to the question of why Mandelson, of all people, was chosen to be US ambassador. I'm not saying anything in particular there. I'm just putting the thought out there, Dan.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.